8 months pregnant, my parents, who had always been partial to me, asked me to go home for dinner. Suddenly, a fire broke out. My parents pushed me away and took my sister, who had leukemia, out, just when I thought I was going to die in the fire. My husband Andrew rushed in without hesitation and rescued me. He didn't even care about his own burns, but just looked at me with pity. You are still pregnant now. What should I do if something happens to the baby in your belly? I thought I finally found someone who really loved me, until I saw the chat records between him and my sister, Marianne. Wait a little longer. When she gives birth and gets the umbilical cord blood, I can save you. I took out my mobile phone without hesitation and called the hospital's appointment number. Hello, I want to make an appointment for an abortion. I just got the abortion appointment form and bumped into Andrew, who was helping my sister Marianne to check. When he saw me, Andrew stopped. Wife, why are you in the hospital? I remember today is not your prenatal checkup day. Andrew looked at my belly nervously. I used to think that this was a sign of his love for me, but now I understand that he only saw me as a container for Marianne's life-saving medicine. I just came to the hospital to check if I feel a little uncomfortable. Hearing me say this, Andrew immediately looked at me nervously. Where do you feel uncomfortable? What did the doctor say? How is the baby in your belly? Are the test results out? Andrew hurriedly supported me and reached out to touch my belly, his eyes full of concern. Marianne glared at me with displeasure. You can't even understand how to conceive a child. I really don't know what's the point of having you. If there's any mishap with the baby in your belly, I will never let you go. I took out the B ultrasound results I just took and handed them to Andrew. The test results show that everything is fine. The baby is very healthy. Hearing me say this, Andrew was relieved. It's good that you're fine. Then you should go back and rest. Marianne still has a few tests to do today. I'll accompany her until she finishes them before going back. Andrew's other hand held Marianne from beginning to end without letting go. In the past, Andrew was too attentive to Marianne. I just thought because he loved me, so he loved her too. But I never thought that they were planning this. Looking at the backs of Andrew and Marianne leaving, I still followed them. I saw Andrew and Marianne enter the office of the director of the hematology department, who is also my father. Marianne's condition can't wait any longer now. We need to find a solution as soon as possible. Andrew held Marianne's hand tightly. Wait a little longer. It will only take 2 months at most. When Miranda gives birth to the baby and gets the umbilical cord blood, Marianne can be saved. Dad looked serious. Marianne may not even last a month. Surgery must be performed as soon as possible. Then do it now. The baby is mature after 8 months. Just then, someone came out from the corner. I looked closely, and it was my mother, who worked in the obstetrics and gynecology department. I felt as if several knives had stabbed into my chest, almost suffocating me. It turned out that all of them were involved in this, and I naively thought that my parents finally began to love me after I became pregnant. But Miranda's baby is only 8 months old. Will it be bad for the baby if we force it out now? Andrew suddenly asked, pulling my thoughts back. Mom's face looked a little ugly and her brows were furrowed. The most important thing now is Marianne's health. Nothing else matters. I looked at the mother who had carried me for 10 months and gave birth to me, and I felt a heart-wrenching pain. Marianne leaned on Andrew's arms. Andrew, you care so much about her child. You are not attracted to her, are you? Andrew hurriedly hugged her tightly. How is it possible? I married her to help you nourish your umbilical cord blood and save your life. Once she takes the baby out, she will have no value to me. I was already in tears watching the scene in front of me, and I was still tightly holding the abortion pills that the doctor gave me in front of me. I looked up and put the pill into my mouth without hesitation. After taking the pills, I returned home and then signed my name on the divorce agreement and put the agreement in the safe. I was about to pack up my things when the door of my house was suddenly pushed open. I shuddered with fear. Andrew walked up and grabbed my hand directly. Miranda, the doctor looked at your report again today and said that the child's condition is very bad. Let me take you to the hospital now. I wanted to pull my hand back, but found that Andrew's hand was tightly grasped by Andrew, and the whole wrist was red. I won't go. The doctor told me today that the baby is healthy. Besides, why didn't the hospital contact me directly? But you. Andrew's eyes were red, and there was still some anxiety in his eyes. Did the hospital notify me temporarily? Or did my mother-in-law ask me to do it? Even if you don't believe me, you should believe your mother, right? Just then, my parents came in from the door, and my mother had a cold face. It's not your fault that you were not careful enough, which led to the miscarriage. You go to the hospital with us now. Dad also echoed on the side. Your mother is an obstetrician and gynecologist. Don't you still believe what your mother said? I grabbed the door handle of the bedroom with my other hand. I won't go. It's already late today. It's the same if I go tomorrow. Besides, I feel good now and don't have any discomfort. My mother glared at me fiercely and walked up to twist my fingers. Just go if I tell you to. Why are you talking so much nonsense? I'm your mother. Would I harm you? Since I was born, they threw me to the countryside to live with my grandparents. It wasn't until they all died and the village committee called that they reluctantly took me to their side. I've always wanted to ask them why they didn't love me, since I was their biological daughters. I almost used up all my strength, but my mother couldn't pry my fingers apart. Suddenly, my mother slapped me hard on the face. "You'd better go to the hospital with me right now. If you delay the treatment of Marianne, I won't let you go." Half of my face became red and swollen instantly, and I smiled bitterly. Finally, the true face is revealed. My mother didn't think so. "I don't know what you are talking about. I only know that your body is not suitable for continuing the pregnancy now, and Marianne just needs umbilical cord blood to save her life." Seeing that I still refused to let go, my father also came forward to help. "Miranda, you used to be the most sensible. Now your sister needs you. Just do your parents a favor, okay?" Dad tried to play the family card and I spit at his feet. "Stop pretending. Marianne's life isn't mine. Forced cesarean section at 8 months. There may be danger at any time." Seeing that I was not convinced, Dad slapped me in the face. "Evil thing, that's your sister. What's wrong with sacrificing a child to save your sister? It's not like you can't get pregnant in the future." Andrew didn't pretend anymore and directly grabbed my neck. "Miranda," Marianne suddenly fainted this afternoon, and now she's waiting for your umbilical cord blood to save her life. You have to go today. "Andrew, I'm pregnant with your child." But Andrew was dismissive. "It's my seed's honor and mission to save Marianne, otherwise you don't deserve to have my child." I looked at Andrew's cold eyes, as if I fell into an abyss. "Mom and Dad, don't talk nonsense with her. Marianne can't wait any longer. Let's tie her up and take her to the hospital." As he said that, Andrew found a rope and tied my hands with the cooperation of my parents. "Hurry up and leave. If you delay Marianne's treatment, I want you to be in trouble." My mother pushed me forward, and I hooked my feet on the doorframe, and refused to leave the house. Andrew kicked my feet hard. "Miranda, if Marianne can't be treated in time, I will definitely make you pay with your life." Andrew almost used up all his strength, and I knelt on the ground hard. I was in so much pain that tears were about to come out, and my stomach was also cramping. "Be careful of the baby in her belly. Just hit her face. Don't hurt the baby in her belly." Mom looked at Andrew with some dissatisfaction. Andrew nodded repeatedly, and then helped me up with my dad like a little chicken, and dragged me forward. As soon as the elevator door opened, a tall man walked out. I knew him. He was Officer Burton, who lived next door to us. He had helped me catch a thief before. I felt like I saw a savior, and my eyes lit up. Help! Just as I opened my mouth to ask for help, my mother covered my mouth tightly. "Do you want to vomit? Mom will take you to the hospital now." Officer Burton looked at us in confusion. "What's this?" My wife suddenly feels a little uncomfortable. She may be about to give birth. "I will take her to the hospital now," Andrew said calmly. My hands were tied behind my back by Andrew and my dad. Andrew held my hands tightly to prevent me from moving. I could only look at Officer Burton for help. "I'm a gynecologist. My daughter is about to give birth. We can't afford to delay at all." My mother was afraid that Officer Burton would not believe her, so she quickly took out her work badge. "Then hurry up. This kind of thing can't be delayed." Officer Burton immediately made way for us, and Andrew instantly breathed a sigh of relief. I was carried into the elevator, and watching Officer Burton turn and leave, my expectation in my heart instantly turned into despair. "Little bitch, I almost asked you to complain to that policeman. Do you know that you are harming your own sister by doing this? How can you be so vicious?" As soon as the elevator door closed, my mother pinched my arm fiercely. The piercing pain made me cry nonstop. Just then, my father's cell phone rang. "Dr. Garfield, your daughter Marianne suddenly has a high fever. Please come back quickly." After hanging up the phone, my father looked at my stomach with a heavy face. "Marianne can't wait any longer. Arrange a cesarean section as soon as we get to the hospital." As soon as the elevator door opened, Andrew and my father couldn't wait to drag me out. "Stop." Suddenly, a hurried sound of footsteps sounded. I looked back and saw Officer Burton standing behind us with a serious face. My hope that had been extinguished was rekindled. "Your ID card fell." Officer Burton trotted over and handed my ID card to my mother. "Thank you, Officer Burton." My mother thanked him repeatedly, and I tried hard to break free from my bound hands. "Mr. Burton." When Officer Burton wanted to leave again, I hurriedly opened my mouth, but halfway through my words, my mouth was tightly covered by Andrew. "Miranda, bear with it for a while. We will be at the hospital soon." Then Andrew dragged me to the car. As soon as I was thrown into the car, my mother pinched my arm hard. "If you dare to cause trouble for me again, I will never let you go." Andrew rushed all the way and ran through 3 red lights to the hospital. As soon as I arrived at the hospital, I was dragged into the operating room. Looking at the cold operating room, I was scared and wanted to escape, but my mother directly took a shot of tranquilizer and injected it into my body. "We just took a child from your belly. I don't know why you reacted so strongly. We are all family and you saved your own sister." A wave of tranquilizer entered my body, and I just felt that my body gradually became lighter. In order to avoid damaging the baby in my belly, my mother used a small dose, and my consciousness was still somewhat clear. "Tie the person to the operating table and perform the operation yourself." Andrew and my father immediately moved me to the operating table. "You are breaking the law by doing this, do you know?" I shouted in despair, but my mother looked at me and snorted. "You are my daughter. Is there any problem with me helping you with the operation? I gave you your life. My father rolled his eyes at me. You are an ungrateful person. We raised you up just to ask you to save your own sister. What are you telling us is illegal? Andrew tied my hands on the operating table tighter. I could feel the rope digging into my wrists. Andrew, please sign it quickly. I will start the operation soon. Mom handed a consent form to Andrew. Andrew signed his name on the consent form without even looking at it. I looked at the people who were called family members and my heart was shattered. Andrew, do you want to go out first? It might be a little bloody later. Mom looked at Andrew with a scalpel, but Andrew shook his head. No, I have to see Marianne's medicine being taken out with my own eyes before I can feel at ease. Andrew's words were like needles piercing my heart. In his eyes, I and the child in my belly were just a medicine. Because this operation was performed privately, there was no anesthesiologist. My mother took the knife and cut my stomach, directly cutting it open. For a moment, I felt as if my bones were broken. I could clearly feel that my stomach was cut open alive, layer by layer. The whole operating room was filled with my heart-wrenching screams, but no one wiped my sweat or frowned. No one even looked at me. You will be punished. I gritted my teeth and made a sound with difficulty. Andrew was about to scold me, but the next second I heard my mother shouting, "It's out, the baby is out." Before the joyful voice sounded, I heard my mother's terrified voice. Why is the child dead?